Meanwhile, everyone, Donald Trump reaching out, as we said, to women voters with a promise to make childcare more affordable. He announced a plan to guarantee new mothers 6 weeks of paid maternity leave and would create dependent care savings accounts and allow tax deductions for childcare.
We need working mothers to be fairly compensated for their work and have access to affordable, quality childcare for their kids. These solutions must update laws passed more than a half a century ago when most women were still not in the labor force.
You know, this was all inspired by his daughter, Ivanka. Trump pushed an issue often associated with Democrats. And while that might help him reach out to new voters, it may alienate some traditional conservatives who are leery of another big government program and keep asking who's going to pay for it all. Well, joining me right now with their thoughts, conservative commentator Gina Loudon and Katie Pavlich, an editor for Town Hall. Good to see you guys. I mean, as I was just saying to Sean, I think it's really important that we have these discussions. We are living in a very different time, Gina, where women, they're like, you know, Wonder Women. They're somehow doing it all. I mean, they're going to work, they get the kids, they're responsible for the house, and it's very challenging, and they're not getting any help. Can we start to change that?
Yes, and I think, you know, just being completely honest with you, Trish, the idea of government meddling in my child care as a conservative smacks me wrong in the first place. But what Mr. Trump has done is ingenious. As you pointed out, he's taken what was Hillary's issue and he's brought it over to the free market side, using things like incentives and deductions, which are free market concepts, where Hillary can only talk about tax increases and mandates and regulations. Not only that, he uses Obama and Hillary's very own mandates and regulations against them, because he's going to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse to pay for all of this and enable businesses to breathe easier and families to breathe easier too. And I also love the way he addresses even those moms like you and I who want to be with our children as much as we can, so we might not work normal hours, for example. There's a lot here that he's going to unveil tomorrow when he makes his speech.
Katie, of course, the big concern, right, is how do you pay for this? But as Sean pointed out, and I think this is a very legitimate and fair point, there's a lot of fraud in the system. If you can go in and clean some of that up, you might find a little extra money left over. Do you use it for this?
Sure, I think that's a valid point, and I think that Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump should be applauded for providing voluntarily paid maternity leave inside their companies. There's two issues here. The reality of the fact that Donald Trump is losing both married women and single women in the single women category by double digits. He needs to get more votes in that demographic to win the White House in November. But then there's the other reality of how do you pay for this? And I think we have to be very careful about jumping onto a big government program, which this is, simply because words like affordable are thrown out there. We were told a whole lot about how the Affordable Care Act was going to make health care more affordable. And at the end of the day, someone has to pay for it. And tax deductions cost money.
Yeah, I mean, you can also think about it as inflating childcare costs, right? Because if you're getting a tax deduction, then maybe the daycare facility figures it can tax a little more. But from a political perspective, all that aside for a minute, Katie, I mean, if you want to beat Clinton at her own game.
Right, of course, yeah.
Is this not a smart path to go down?
I think that it is a really good idea that he brought it up politically. As I mentioned, he is losing with women across the board. He has to win that, at least gain more votes in that demographic if he wants to be successful in winning this race. However, when it comes to the reality of what we're dealing with here, I think we have to be very cautious about selling a plan only to win votes. We know it likely will not pass Congress, considering Congress has refused to bring votes on this up in the past, because we do not want to create another big government program. And the other question here is, how are you going to enforce 6 weeks of paid maternity leave? Are we going to mandate that companies now provide this? Will that then incentivize companies not to hire?
I mean, that's an excellent point.
There are bigger details about what the consequences of this will be, so I think we have to be careful about jumping on it.
I mean, I look at Europe, for example. In Italy, they require a woman to take 3 months ahead of giving birth, and it's either 3 or 6 months after giving birth. So guess what happens? If you're a married woman in those childbearing ages, a lot of companies, and the government pays for it there. It's not as though the company is going to be paying for it, but they don't want to have to, deal with the fact that you're going to be
pay for it.
out for that long.
Right.
Yeah, taxpayers. They don't want to have to deal with women being out for that long. So, look, Gina, I guess I would just get back to these are important conversations to be having, in that I think women today are faced with a lot of challenges. It's wonderful that we have the freedom to do whatever we want, but in some ways, it's almost as though women have more pressure on them because they're doing it all.
Yes. And what I think will be so much appreciated by women about Mr. Trump's plan is he will continue to explain more about all of this tomorrow in his speech at the New York Economic Club. But I think that things like tuition, like, for example, Trish, I am a homeschool mom, and I've kind of always had one foot in the workforce and one foot out, trying to balance, as many women do.
5 kids?
His plan... I do, and his plan actually affords for the deductibility, for example, of tuition costs for me. My children go through an academy that's online. It also allows for deduction of materials that will supplement their education. That would save homeschool families like mine untold amount of money. So it addresses
and give you more choice.
But will it, in the end,
I don't know.
Gives you more choices, and it also allows you, if you don't use that money, to roll it over. So it encourages savings. These are free market principles applied to what we have traditionally been programmed to think is, well, many of them are, and to what we've been programmed by the left to think can only be handled by expanded government programs. It's not true, and Mr. Trump is proving that.
I think that, he really is heading into uncharted waters and blazing new territories.
It is.
Both when it comes to dealing with the challenging economic situations in many minority communities throughout this country, and, of course, the challenges that working women face. So a smart move politically. Thank you so much, Gina and Katie. Good to see you guys.
Thanks.
All right, 2 brand new polls out today showing Donald Trump now leading Hillary Clinton in 2 key battleground states. Trump, as I said earlier, up by 5 in Ohio and up by 2 in Nevada. This is a huge turnaround. I mean, think about